Hi, Year 3. Hope you're all doing okay. Miss McDonald here with your next instalment of our book, Mouse, Bird, Snake, Wolf. And I'm excited to find out what's going to happen next. And before I introduce the questions on my high quality interactive whiteboard here, I just want to have a little bit of a recap about what's happened so far because it might help us with these questions. And also it's also really important to make sure you have remembered what happened before so that we can understand what's going to happen next. So in this book, there are three main characters. The youngest of the characters, Ben, has an idea. And they all live in this world which they think is marvellous. They describe it as marvellous, but it's all full of some fantastic creatures. And the gods have made this world, but they've got to the point when they've stopped making things. And they sit around and they compliment each other on all the wonderful things they've made. This youngest character here, Ben, he's starting to get a little bit frustrated. And he decides to fill in the spaces. He is going to imagine a creature. And he imagines and creates a mouse. This is him here imagining the mouse in his head. And then the gods haven't noticed, and this mouse has been created. And then it's Sue's turn, and she imagines a bird. And again, the gods don't notice, and off the bird flies up to the sky, and it's a beautiful sight. And then we get to the turn of Harry. Now, I'm just going to go over the last bit you read. It says he closed his eyes and stared into himself. And I'm going to make a prediction here. This is a snake from Mouse, Bird and Snake. And I wonder what is going to happen now. So before we do, I've got some questions here for you. The first one is a prediction question. And the question is, what do you think Harry's snake will do? So I've got a little hint for you here. First of all, what do you know about snakes? So what we know about the world can help us to inform our predictions. And then also, what another hint would be, what did the other creatures do? So we already know what the mouse did, and we already know what the bird did. So that might help you with thinking about what do you think Harry's snake will do. And then what does the sentence, the god glared at him, the god shook her head, tell us about what the god was thinking? And then I've just put here a little thought bubble. And it might be a good idea if on your piece of paper that you draw the thought bubble so that you remember you are writing about some of the thoughts that might be going through her head, through the god's head. And then finally, this is coming up, a little hint, this is coming up towards the end of what I'm reading. It's find and copy a word that means found. Now, a tip here would be what word class is it? What word class is found? Because the word is going to be of the same word class. Okay, so have a little think about that. And I'm going to start reading. So it says, yes, he said at last, I shall make a snake. A god opened her eyes and looked down. A snake, said the others. Now, this might be a really good time to pause your video and then have an answer of question 1. What do you think Harry's snake will do? So hopefully you've paused that and we're back again. Harry smiled. Yes, a snake. It's the most peculiar thing. Now, peculiar is another way of saying strange or odd, unusual. It is a long and twisty legless thing. It has a forked little tongue and sharp little teeth. It hisses and it slithers across the earth. Goodness gracious, said little Ben and Sue. What a weird creature. Yes, that was another adjective again to describe the creature, which is not unlike peculiar. So peculiar, weird, odd, strange, they all mean something very similar. Now watch, ordered Harry. This will be very simple. He grabbed some clay from a little pond and he found some shining stones in the soil. He made a snake with them and laid it onto the ground at their feet. Let's see what the snake does, and I wonder if your prediction was correct. Slither, snake, slither, he urged. Hiss, snake, hiss! But nothing happened. Try again, said Sue and little Ben. Try harder, Harry. Harry took a deep breath. He looked up at the clouds. The god glared at him. The god shook her head at him. Again, so we've got to the point where we can answer question 2. So pause the video and think about this sentence. The god glared at him. The god shook her head. What might she be thinking? Okay, and then continuing on, I've started to notice these really grey, dark colours here. And I'm starting to think something's not quite right, but let's see. Harry took no notice. He tried to feel as a god feels when she is making things. He tried to feel as a snake feels when it is being made. He hissed. Slither, he hissed. He twisted his body and flicked his tongue. He hissed. And yes, the snake hissed. And it lifted his head and it hissed again. It slithered towards the grass. Its scales glittered. Its eyes gleamed. Just going to show you this word gleamed here. I don't know if you can see it or not. I just want to talk about that word and what it means. So gleamed, its eyes gleamed. So it ends in ed, gleamed with the ed on the end. So I know that that's a verb. And it's something that his eyes did. And if I wasn't sure, I could just have a little look at the picture and I can see that they're bright red. So I'm starting to use my clarification skills to work out what this might mean. And I think that it means that they're glowing almost. So gleamed is actually means something that's shining really, really brightly. So if you're not sure of a word, think about it in the context of the sentence, but gleamed means something that shines really brightly. It bared its sharp little teeth. It flicked its forked little tongue. The children backed away and backed away, and Ben held tight to Harry and Sue, and then the snake discovered a crack in the ground, and it slithered fast into the earth below. Hopefully you found this question here. Just pause the video. Okay, I'm just going to quickly go through the answers now. So what do you think Harry Snake will do? Well, we now know what Harry Snake did. It did slither and it did hiss, as snakes do, but also it actually did something extra. It went right up to Harry into his face with its gleaming eyes and its sharp little teeth and its forked tongue, and then it disappeared away. Now you might have put something different, but as long as it was something that a snake might do, or some of the movements it might make. Yeah, so any kind of movement that the snake might make, or any kind of action that a snake might do would be a sensible answer. It doesn't have to be exactly what was in the And the next one, what does the sentence, the god glared at him, the god shook her head? Well, if I glare at someone or if I shake my head, that means I'm not very happy and I'm disapproving of them. But I'm thinking about thoughts. So I said, the god would have said something like, "What is he doing? It's so dangerous to make a snake. There's a reason I didn't have snakes in this world." Anything that the character that the god might say that shows that she's not happy with what Harry's doing. And finally, find and copy a word that means found. Um, and the hint was what word class it was. Now, found is a verb because it's something that you can do, and it was right in this last bit here. And you should have written just one word, and it should be discovered. Okay, then the snake discovered a crack in the ground. There will be another video for you coming up as well. Thank you for listening to part 3, and I'll see you for part 4 soon.